Friends and family, if everyone would have a seat, please. We're going to begin the funeral service for Mr. Ronald R. Previn. If you have a cell phone, I'd ask you kindly to place it in a silent mode or turn it completely off at this time. I'd also like to welcome everybody via live stream. On behalf of the family, thank you for attending. Services will be conducted by Rabbi Barry Schechter of Congregation Cole Emmett in Skokie.
Mismolet David, Adonai mi'agabi alecha, mi yishkom behar kodshecha, holech tamim, ufoel hatzedek, v'dover emet bilvavo, lo rakal leshono, lo asal re'ehu ra, v'cherpa lo nasa al kerovo. Nivze beinav nimas, v'et yerei Adonai yechabed, nishbal ara v'lo yamir, kaspo lo natan b'neshech, v'shochad kilo lakach. Oseile lo yimot li'olam. God, who may abide in your house, who may dwell in your holy mountain, those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth within their hearts, who do not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them, who give their word and come what may do not retract, who do not exploit others. Those who live in this way shall never be shaken. Dear friends, we're here for a sad and difficult occasion to say goodbye, which is one of the most difficult things that we can ever do, but also to pay tribute and to honor the memory, and even if possible, to celebrate the life of Ron Previn, the son of Sophie and Dave, who's gone to his eternal rest and leaves behind a family and friends who loved him very, very dearly, and whom he loved very dearly. First, his wife, Claire, married for 62 years, and the children, Stacy and her Tom, and Andrew, Andy, and his Janelle, and grandchildren, Remy, Flynn, Jordan, and Kyle. Do you not understand? Can you? Oh, okay. And I should mention his sister Susan and her Irv, and sister Bonnie, and the nephew, nieces, friends, extended family who have come today to honor him and to support the family. And we're going to hear first from Andy, who will speak to us about his father.
I just want to say a couple quick words about my dad. Okay, you can watch the video later. My dad taught me the importance of taking time out to meet people, treat everyone with empathy, kindness, and love, and patience. And he had an untold influence on my life. He taught me how to tie a tie. He taught me how to shave. I crashed all his cars. He didn't throw me out. I just want everyone to know how much he loved my sister. He let her be an independent mind back when it wasn't easy to do. And I'm going to miss him terribly, but I know he's better now than he was a couple months ago. I see out in the audience all my favorite people, and I just really appreciate it. He would be very proud to have you all sitting here spending his last moments with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy. I spoke to you at length, had a very nice conversation It's interesting because when we spoke, you didn't mention the bit about crashing the cars. You saved that for today. How many vehicles was it actually? 3, I see. Okay. Well, that's quite an achievement. The achievement actually is that, well, you had this, Stacey, you told me this before. He said this to you, but I'm sure he said it to all of you, to both of you. You're my horse if you never win a race. More parents should say that to their children, because too many parents want their children to be horses and press them to win races. And that's the best way to get children frightened and nervous, because they fear, maybe wrongly, but that's the impression that's given, that somehow the love of the parent is contingent, is dependent upon the child winning a race, which is the worst thing you can tell a child. And he told you the opposite, which is wonderful. So there's a marvelous lesson in parenting there for everyone. I'm not a parent myself, but we should always learn. We always have to learn from those we love while they're with us and after they're gone. I think I'll mention that a little later. I know that you, Claire, and he met because you were introduced by someone who was going to move to Boston, and you were married in 1959, and you moved. I think you lived in Cleveland, and then moved here in 1974. Andy, you told me you had your bar mitzvah in 1980 at the Barn of Barrington, a synagogue I was not acquainted with before. But you were members of Temple Chai in Buffalo Grove. I know that he was a housewares manufacturer's rep, and at one time he had to travel a great deal for his work. And from everything you've told me, he must have been a wonderful salesman, because every one of you who's described him to me has told me what a pleasure it was to be with him. How nice it was. Let me speak with moderation. Not everyone is like that. You don't have to think hard. Just think of a few politicians, one in particular. If you like being with someone, if someone makes you feel good when you're with them, then they lift your spirits. Then after you met them, if you were in a down mood before, you're in an up mood afterwards. And even if you were in an up mood before, you're in an even higher mood afterwards. And that's something wonderful. We need people like that. He umpired league games in Buffalo Grove Recreation Association. He loved being with young people. He loved being with children. And you told me something quite striking, how he taught this a girl called Bridget, who had a problem. She had Down syndrome, and she was living near you, and he taught her to swim. I mean, just think of that. Because he wanted to. I mean, that is really, really lovely. That speaks volumes about the man. He would come, Andy, to your college football in Wisconsin. He was there with your mum and with these other friends, because you had a friend, Jamie, right? Jamie Walsh, and his parents, Peter and Melissa. So your parents and Peter and Melissa would come up to see you. They would have dinner there, and they'd have a wonderful outing, and you could enjoy knowing that your parents cared about you. He cared about you. They wanted to support you in what you were doing. Stacey, You were in Little League, right? You had track meets. He was there for you. And as Andy said, he gave you your freedom. He encouraged you. I said before, he gave you wings, to fly. Parents should always give their children wings. Let them be what they want to be. Because if you encourage them that way, then you'll bring out whatever is good in them. It'll just come out. And that's what happened to both of you. He loved all the grandchildren, Jordan and Kyle and Remy and Flynn. Shall I tell the story about McDonald's? It's up to you. No. Everyone knows it, right. Of course, everyone knows everything else I'm saying. Let me tell you something. I won't tell it. It's okay. Well, it's okay. We'll sort this out later. Now, I want to tell you something about something I just said. I said everyone knows this. Everyone knows everything I'm saying, and probably knows it better than me. You see, if you know someone who is good, a good, decent, fine human being, don't be afraid of repeating how good he is to people who know that anyway. We've got enough bad people in the world. We can hear enough about them. We need to hear again and again about good people. And if we hear the same good story about a good person, we should be able to listen to it in the same way that if someone says to me, do you want to come to a concert to hear Beethoven's Fifth Symphony? I'm not going to say, I've heard it already. I can have heard it 20 times. I can hear it again. And I should hear it again. So that's very, very important. I know that there were many family dinners that you have, that you would travel to Ohio to see Arnie and Ruth, that his parents had a place in Sunrise Lakes, Florida, and you'd go every year to see them. He loved to read. He was very athletic. He played volleyball. I'd never heard of this. He told me he played volleyball in the pool. I didn't know there was such a thing. You see, I come here, I learn things. He also played basketball. You told me about having Thanksgiving with Sol and Reva Greenberg. And also you were friends with Chuck and Linda Friedman. That's from Morton Grove, Buffalo Grove. And something else you told me. I often learn the most valuable things from people I'm speaking to when they just happen to mention it. They say, oh yes, there's this. Like it's a detail. You mentioned it and I asked about it again today. He was a devoted supporter of Jack Kennedy. He campaigned for him. He loved him. And he marched for civil rights. That is not a small thing. I mean, none of what I'm saying is a small thing, but this is something wonderful. This is something really, really, really wonderful. Now, what you said about the horse, you don't have to win a race, you're my horse. That is beautiful encouragement. That's something else we need. We all need it. There may be one or two rare creatures who don't need encouragement. They give it to themselves. Sometimes they're not such nice people, by the way. But we all need that. And that's what he did. He encouraged you. He made you feel good. He made you feel safe. Made you feel wanted. And so he opened you up and allowed whatever talents and goodness were in you to come out. And if there's ever a description of what a good parent should be, that's it. That is it. Not sitting on them, not saying do exactly as I do, exactly as I say. No, because we're all different. We're all different. We're not supposed to be carbon copies of anyone else, and if we're told to be, that's not good. But he had this gift, and you told me he was funny, right? He could make you laugh. Was that all the time, or quite a lot of the time? No, because I have a quick story I wanted to end with about. Well, I'll tell it anyway. It's a nice story. In the Talmud, there's this story about Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu. Does anyone know what Elijah? You know what Elijah? Where does Elijah? Where's he supposed to show up? I mean, he's been a no-show for thousands of years. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm talking. Yes. I'll tell you later. You really can't hear me. Can you? Is it my accent or what? No. It's deliberative hearing loss. I see. Well, I shall carry on. Yes. Eliyahu the prophet, right? He is supposed to show up at the Seder, which we have on Passover, right? He's supposed to show up. Have you ever seen him? No. He's a no-show. But we always expect him to come because Elijah is supposed to herald the coming of the Mashiach, of the Messiah, because as far as we're concerned, the Messiah hasn't come yet. If you think he has, well, I don't want to attack your religious belief, but when I look at the world, if he has come, he'd better come again. Now, so Elijah is supposed to come. We have right at the Seder, we drink 4 cups of wine, right? I mean, not at the same time, in sequence. And there's another cup we have on the table with wine, and we don't drink that. Why? Because that is the cup of, everyone, Elijah. Thank you. Now, by the way, I thought always that if Elijah did show up and came to every Jewish house and drank all the wine, I don't think he'd be in any condition to do anything else. But I wasn't consulted on this. In any event, so no one's seen Elijah. You haven't. If you have, by the way, you'll speak to me afterwards. I need to know details. But Elijah, that's Elijah's wine, by the way. Elijah, I'm getting confused here. Yes, someone once did meet Elijah. Someone did meet Elijah. It's okay. Someone did meet Elijah. It's all right. Someone did meet Elijah, and he said to him, "Who deserves to go to Olam Haba?" Olam Haba means the world to come. Who has lived such a good life on this earth that they deserve to go to paradise? And he gave a very surprising answer. He said, "Look over there in the marketplace. There are 2 men there. Go over, find out what they're doing." So he goes over and asks them, he said, what are you doing? What do you do? They said, this is actually in the Talmud, we're jokesters. We tell funny stories. We lift people's spirits. People come up to us and we tell them funny things, happy things. And because of that, sometimes we are reconciling, we're bringing back together people who are alienated from each other. Because we all know this, that if you are in not such a good mood, and then somehow you get in a better mood, something nice happens, or someone tells you something funny, so you sort of walk lighter, don't you? It won't show on the scale. Don't think of this as a weight loss program. It won't show on the scale, but you walk lighter. And when you walk lighter, you think, I had this argument with so-and-so. I was really mad at him, but actually, really, it wasn't that bad. Maybe we can patch things up. And so those 2 people, because they've lifted people's spirits, because people love to be with them, they make them feel better. Those 2 deserve to go to Olam Haba. Those 2 deserve to go to paradise. And for everything you've told me about this man, about Ron, how you love being with him, how being with him made you feel better, that's the kind of person Elijah was referring to. He had other virtues too. That's just one of them. The encouragement, which is part of that as well. So, when you think of him, and you will think of him a lot, you think of him now, and there's sadness, there's grief, but there's also pride. By the way, you mentioned pride. I should mention, of course, you see the flag because he served in the Korean War. He served our country in the Korean War. He was actually a prisoner of war, though he didn't speak about that, but he was very, very proud about his service to our country. In fact, he wore the cap, didn't he, that he had. But in any event, you think of him with pride, and we have to try and learn from him. We can't always be encouraging. We can't always be in a good mood, although he was just about all the time. But there'll be times when you might be tempted. There will be a question, should I do this? Should I do that? And you might think, well, what would he do? Or what would he say? And just thinking of that, it won't always happen. It won't happen every time, but it may happen. Just thinking of that may give you the strength or the encouragement or the upness to do the right thing. So if you, just by thinking of him, you'll act better. Then you come into his inheritance. You see, when a good person comes into the world, the good they bring into the world does not have to go with them, away with them, when they leave us physically. So take whatever you can from his life, because I didn't know him. But everything you've told me, everything all of you have told me, tells me that he was the kind of person of whom we can say, and there's no greater praise, that the world would be a better place if there were more people like him. And now of him I say, Tehei nishmato tzurura b'tzror hachayim. You know the word chayim, l'chaim, life? May his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. That's what I say of him. And to him I say, Ron, lech b'shalom. Gain freedom, go in peace. Habalech Gan Eden. May your repose be in paradise. You will never be forgotten. You will always be remembered in love by those who knew you and loved you, and those whom you knew and you loved. Amen. And now, would you read with me, please? You have these little pamphlets. Would you read me, if you open them up, the 23rd Psalm. Could you read with me, please? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. If you can you stand, please? If it's difficult, stay seated. Those of you wearing the ribbons, can you go close to each other? I think the three of you. Can you tear the ribbons? Let me just see. I'll come over from the bottom. Just a little tear at the horizontal thing at the bottom in the middle. Just a second. Yeah. Now I'm going to say a bracha with the three of you, a blessing. Anyone else can join. The blessing begins the same way. Do you know Baruch Atah Adonai? Yes. Okay. The blessing begins the same way as every blessing, and there are two words at the end. So, I'll tell you what, I'll come closer to you. I know actually we're streaming, so I should stay here. I'm sorry. Okay. So, let's begin. Baruch Atah. So, Claire, can you hear me? Baruch Atah Adon Eloheinu Melech Ha'olam. Now listen. Dayan Ha'emes, which means blessed be the true judge. That's what we say when we suffer a loss. Please remain standing. It's okay. El male rachamim, shochein mamromim, hametzei menoch nechona, tachat kanafei ashina. במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזרק ימסהירים את נשמת רונלד בן סופי ודוד שהלך לעולמו בעבור שאנחנו נודרים את צדקה ויד הזכרת נשמתו. בגן עדן תהי מנוחתו, לכן ולרחמים יסתירהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור ביצר החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום המשכבו, ונאמר Amen. Passionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure who shine as the brightness of the firmament, unto the soul of Ronald Previn, the son of Sophie and Dave, who has entered eternity, and in whose memory we offer charity. May his repose be in paradise. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen.
This concludes the service at the chapel. The family will receive condolences today upon their return from the cemetery at Andrew and Janelle's home, 509 Harvey Lake Drive in Vernon Hills, immediately following the interment at the cemetery. That information is on your folders. If you didn't get one, please get one when you exit. Interment will take place at Willow Lawn Cemetery in Vernon Hills. The procession will be forming in the parking lot. Please keep in mind a few safety features while in the procession. Keep your bright headlights on at all times. Put your emergency blinkers on. Attach the orange funeral sticker to the passenger portion of your front windshield. And we will also attach a flag to the roof of your car. And please stay as close as safety permits to the car in front of you. The following family members have been asked to serve as pallbearers. When I call your name, if you please come forward. Thomas Sheehan, Remington Sheehan, Flynn Sheehan, Kyle Previn. At this time, I would ask that everyone please rise as the family, the rabbi, and the rabbi are escorted from the chapel. Yeah, you can follow right along. Okay, will the family come now?